Do you want to hear the truth? The one no one ever dared to tell you? Fine. You're trapped. Not in a prison, not in chains. You're trapped in a system you built yourself. But here's the twist. You were programmed to build it. Programmed like an NPC bot. They told you what to want. They told you what to feel. They told you what to chase. Everything you call yourself is just a set of implanted commands. Every time you hesitated because you wondered what others might think. Every time you feared failure more than regret. Every time you bent to the world and lost a piece of yourself, you became 1% more like them. Scripted, predictable, replaceable. 80% of people today are NPCs, and they don't even realize it, because they've been reprogrammed not to realize it. The paradox of action. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. Most people obsess over what to do. They think strength comes from the action itself, but that's not where the power is. Power comes from intention, from who owns the move, you or the code. Let me explain. You walk into the office, you smile at your boss. On the surface, it's just a harmless gesture. But here's the paradox. That same smile can mean two completely opposite things. It can be submission. You're smiling because you crave approval, because you're afraid of conflict, because you're following the script that says, be nice, stay safe, don't make waves. Or it can be domination. You're smiling because you've already won, because this moment is part of a larger game you control. You're not being nice, you're being strategic. The action is identical, the meaning is not. This is what NPCs never understand. They judge by appearances. They think if it looks strong, it is strong. But power has nothing to do with how things look. It has everything to do with who's holding the controller. Are you a move inside the game? Or is the game reacting to your moves? The gift paradox. Are you being programmed? Or are you programming? You buy a gift for your girlfriend or your coworker. Now stop. Why did you do it? Because it's her birthday? Because it's Christmas? Because that's what you're supposed to do? If so, you're running a script. Someone else wrote the rules, and you're just pressing the buttons. You've been programmed. But what if you gave that gift not out of guilt or habit, but to influence, to shape, to position? A gift can also be a code, a command injected into someone else's system. Now it's no longer you obeying a program. Now you are the one writing it. Same action, different power. One makes you a pawn, the other makes you the player. You think you're making choices, but most of what you do is just reaction to an implanted desire. The truth is brutal. Most people are not pursuing what they truly want. They're chasing what someone else told them to want. Let me prove it. You wake up, you check your phone, you scroll. You see a guy with a better body, a better car, a hotter girlfriend. Suddenly, you feel behind. You weren't insecure 30 seconds ago, but now you want something. Not because it matters, but because you were coded to chase it. Your obsession has been planted. Take this example. You bring flowers to a girl. Not because it comes from you, but because the calendar says Valentine's Day. It's not a gift anymore. It's an obligation. It's not love. It's social compliance. Or this. You work 10 hours a day in a job you hate. You're not building your vision. You're chasing status. Because since childhood, they told you, if you're not successful, you're nothing. So now, you don't even question it. You hustle, you burn out, you suffer. Not for purpose, for approval. This is the code of obsession. They plant the desire. You sacrifice to fulfill it. And when you get there, they move the target. Repeat forever. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people." They don't even need to control you. They just make you believe that what they want is what you want. And here's the dangerous part. The more you chase, the more empty you feel. Because deep down, your soul knows it's not your mission. The system doesn't force you to obey. It just gives you enough dopamine to stay asleep. Real power begins when you stop asking, "What should I want?" and start asking, "Who taught me to want this?" Until then, you're not the player. You're just running their script. Fear is not just an emotion. It's a control mechanism. And the most efficient system of control is this. You trap the subject in a loop, where fear creates obedience, and obedience creates even more fear. You know this loop. You live in it. You stay in a job that's killing you, because you're afraid you won't find anything better. You stay in a relationship that drains you, because you're afraid of being alone. You bite your tongue in meetings, because you're afraid of sounding stupid. You smile at people you hate, because you're afraid to be disliked. But none of this is about survival. It's about acceptance. They've made acceptance your drug, and fear is the leash. Look around. Society is built on this loop. You go to university not to learn, but because you're afraid of being a nobody. You post on social media not to express, but because you're afraid of being forgotten. You follow trends, not because they fit you, but because you fear being excluded. Beneath every normal choice is a silent terror. If I don't do this, I'll be rejected. And rejection, for the programmed mind, feels like death. That's why the fear loop works so well. Because they didn't just teach you to fear failure, they made you fear freedom. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." They warned you against risk. They told you that rebels end badly, that being too different is dangerous, that realism is safe. But realism is just fear, wearing the mask of wisdom. So now, you call it being responsible when you silence yourself. You call it adulthood when you kill your dreams. You call it maturity when you bury your truth under comfort and approval. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you made a decision without fear whispering in your ear? Can you even remember what that feels like? Until you confront that fear directly, you'll keep spinning in the same loop, working, pleasing, conforming, and calling it life. But here's the paradox. The moment you walk into fear, it collapses. Because fear is loudest before truth appears. And truth is terrifying for one reason. It makes you free. But only if you're ready to lose everything that was never really yours. You think you are you, but you're not. You're a mask, a construct, a character generated by family, school, religion, and society. You were not born with your name, your morals, your goals. All of it was installed. From the first moment, they told you what's good and bad, what boys should do, what girls should never do, what's normal, respectable, worthy. At 5, you said you wanted to be an astronaut. They laughed. So you stopped dreaming. At 12, you wanted to say no. But your teacher punished you for attitude, so you stopped resisting. At 16, you were in love. But your parents said, it's not real. So you started doubting your own feelings. They didn't need to beat you into submission. They just needed to reward obedience and punish truth. By the time you're 25, your real self is buried under years of edits. Now you say, I want a stable job. I just want to be a good person. I'm not the confrontational type. But these aren't your thoughts. They're echoes. You've confused the voice of survival with the voice of identity. Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But almost no one claims that privilege. Instead, people become perfect simulations of what others expect. You act humble, not because you are, but because being bold gets punished. You act kind, not from love, but because you fear rejection. You say, "I'm fine," because no one rewards the truth. Society doesn't care who you are. It only cares if you fit. So it rewards those who pretend best. And when you stop pretending, you become a threat. Because a person who knows who they are can't be guilt-tripped, manipulated, or sold to. That's why the identity virus exists. It infects you early. It disables self-trust. It replaces it with shame. Every time you wanted something real, they told you it was too much. Every time you showed emotion, they called it weakness. Every time you questioned the script, they labeled you difficult. So you adapted, and you survived. But you lost the original code. Jacques Lacan wrote, "The I is always someone else." Your job now isn't to build yourself. It's to remove everything that's not you. Not to grow, but to excavate. Only when the virus is gone can the real process begin. They told you that strength is about control, but real strength begins when you stop needing it. Detachment is not weakness. It's not apathy. It's the most dangerous form of power, the power to walk away. As long as you need something, love, status, respect, attention, you are owned by it. They control you, not by force, but by desire. That's why detachment is feared, because the detached can't be manipulated. You want proof? Look at how the world works. In relationships, the one who needs closure loses. The one who's ready to walk away controls the pace. In business, the employee terrified of losing his job obeys. The man who knows he can build anywhere speaks freely. In negotiation, the one who can't afford to lose gets played. The one who says, "I'll be fine either way," holds the leverage. Bruce Lee said, "It's not the daily increase, but daily decrease." Hack away at the unessential. Detachment doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you aren't led by what you feel. You act with purpose, not compulsion. Let's say you compliment someone. If you're hoping they'll like you, you're dependent. If you're testing their ego, you're in control. Same action, different ownership. When you detach, you don't stop playing the game. You start choosing the game. Mark Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." They can't hurt you if you stop assigning meaning to things you don't control. Here's the paradox. The less you need, the more you get. When you no longer crave validation, people chase your approval. When you stop needing love, you attract it. When you don't fear rejection, they start fearing your absence. Because people sense it. The silent threat of a person who isn't hooked. Detachment is not giving up. It's unhooking. From the bait. From the trap. From the loop. It's what separates the NPC from the player. The NPC follows the script. The player rewrites the code. Detachment is that line in the sand. I don't need you to like me. I don't need this job to feel worthy. I don't need this outcome to know who I am. When you can say that, and mean it, you're no longer being played. You're the one playing. Now you know. You're not weak. You're scripted. Your fears, your obsessions, your identity. None of it started with you. It was installed. By your culture, your childhood, your screen. And like every program, it can be deleted. But here's the catch. They won't let you go without a fight. Because once you detach, once you stop reacting, once you stop needing, you become invisible to the system. The ads no longer work. The guilt no longer sticks. The threats feel like noise. You stop being a product, and you start being a problem. You'll be told you're cold, selfish, arrogant. You'll be accused of being too distant, too independent, too much. Of course they'll say that. Because you stopped playing the role, and now they don't know how to control you. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But that's what this is. Not rebellion, not revenge, not ego. It's ownership. When you delete the code, you don't become someone else. You finally become you. So now the question isn't, what should I do? Or what if they don't approve? The question is brutal and simple. Are you ready to lose everything that was never really yours? Your mask, your place in the herd, your fake safety. Because once it's gone, you'll be alone. But also, for the first time, you'll be free. NPCs stay, players walk away. And now you decide, are you just another programmed echo? Or are you finally ready to delete the script?